Welcome back to the men's NPC Nationals. Before we continue with the competition, Rick Valente is backstage with a gentleman who knows what this sport is all about.
Thank you for joining us. Flex, let's talk a little bit about your incredible year you've had this year.
Well, first of all, I started off with the Ironman, and I won that with 1 point away from being a perfect score. The next following week, I went to the Honor Classic, and I won that with a perfect score. The weekend after that, I went to the French Grand Prix over in Paris, and I won that with a perfect score also. And then the weekend after that was the German Grand Prix, and I won that with a perfect score. And then the big finale was placing second in Olympia behind Dorian, you know, my first year. So it's just been an incredible year.
3 big money games in the bodybuilding world for Flex Wheeler. He's had an incredible year.
Well, the heavyweights, they all want to hit it big. They have their sights set on Flex and moving up to the professional ranks, and that's what Dean Caputo certainly would like to do. Dean, our first competitor in the heavyweight class, he's from Streetsboro, Ohio, and he's been in this sport for a while. His first title was won 9 years ago, 1984, Mr. Ohio.
Dean comes into this at 248 pounds. Unfortunately, I think he's not as cleanly cut as he needs to be. I know it looks fabulous here, but when I saw him in pre-judging, he looked like he was holding a little bit of water.
And again, that's just happenstance. You can't control that sometimes. It's your body's own system that says sometimes that's the way you're going to be when you go into a competition. Edgar Fletcher, our next competitor from Greensburg, Pennsylvania. Edgar talks with Rick about the show and this competition.
Yes, I train 7 days a week, twice a day. I don't have scheduled off days. I pretty much train until I feel like I need a day off, and then I take a day off.
That was a perfect example of what they call instinctive training, which I don't think leaves him much time to take care of the parakeets that he collects.
Edgar just kind of different in a lot of ways that he goes about his business. But again, it's different strokes for different folks, is it not?
There are 3-day, 4-day. There are plenty of different ways you can train, and he just happens to do it 7 days a week.
This is Don Long from Alexandria, Virginia. An interesting occupation. He is a male entertainer, he says, which certainly leaves a lot to the imagination there, but Don comes in super shape for the competition.
Some of his favorites are Lee Haney, Vince Taylor, and of course Kevin Levrone. All of these guys have gone right into the pros and done very well, and of course Haney is an 8-time Mr. Olympia. Don has the kind of physique that is beautiful. His Flex Wheeler lines mean he has great symmetry, and he has wonderful muscle balance and separation.
A fine performance there. Next up in the heavyweight competition, Michael Francois from Westerville, Ohio. Michael got into the sport not from the usual means. We've talked about weightlifting and some other sports that perhaps led to bodybuilding. He came from an entirely different vocation. He was studying to be a priest, Carla, and was just months away from being ordained when he decided to take his life in a much different direction, which he now has.
I'll bet you that discipline and that quietness that he's developed in his mind in studying the priesthood helped him in bodybuilding, because certainly to do what he's doing right now, you have to have that focus, that quiet focus. He's one of the new guys on the block, and in pre-judging, he went head-to-head with Dennis Newman. I would not want to have judged this. He's got a fabulous physique.
And speaking of Dennis Newman, well, here he is, our last competitor tonight in the heavyweight class. Dennis from Dana Point, California, talks about keeping his eyes and ears open when it comes to performing.
Posing pretty much comes easy to me. I usually make up a routine within 2 weeks. I usually, like when I listen to music in my car and stuff, I always keep it in mind, like my next show, I always keep in mind what would be a good posing music. So I'd stick to one song, and then I'd think of shots that I could hit in certain beats, and then I just put it together when I get home and keep rewinding it and keep going over and over.
And you saw him there winding up to the crowd. He said, come on, let me hear it from you. Certainly Dennis and a lot of competitors feed off of that crowd enthusiasm.
Oh, sure. A crowd can get you pumped, and a crowd can tell you that you're not doing too well.
Dean Caputo, our 5th place finisher in the heavyweight competition. 4th place tonight at the NPC Nationals goes to Don Long from Alexandria, Virginia. Our 2nd runner-up, 3rd place, Edgar Fletcher from Greensburg, Pennsylvania. And the runner-up in the heavyweight class, Dennis Newman. And so the 1st place prize will go to Michael Francois from Westerville, Ohio. Michael Francois, our heavyweight champion, and he's now standing by with Rick Valente.
Michael, you just won the heavyweight class. All right, I know, that's really a great thing for you. You get your pro card. What's going through your mind right now for the pose down?
Just wondering how I'm going to compare everybody else, but just going to go out there, be aggressive, and do what I got to do.